Blood dripped from his face onto the pavement. 8 years old, starving, homeless, and he had just thrown himself between a kidnapper's knife and a little girl he'd never met. The girl was screaming for her daddy. Her daddy commanded 40 men who would kill for her without hesitation. Within 6 minutes, the thunder came. 40 motorcycles, 40 outlaws, 40 pairs of eyes staring at the broken child who had done what none of them could. What happened next didn't just shock the town. It shattered everything they believed about monsters and heroes. Before we continue, drop your city in the comments. And subscribe now, because this story will change how you see courage forever. Marcus Cole opened his eyes to the taste of rust and hunger. 3 days. That's how long it had been since anything solid touched his stomach. He pressed his small hand against his ribs and felt each bone like a ladder beneath his skin. 8 years old. Alone. Forgotten. The abandoned car he slept in smelled like mildew and old metal, but it was his. Nobody bothered him here behind the railroad tracks. Nobody even knew he existed. He sat up slowly, wincing at the stiffness in his back. His left hand throbbed the scar from the fire that took everything still ached when the mornings turned cold. Another day, he whispered to no one. He climbed out of the rusted Buick and stretched his thin arms toward a gray sky. Dusty Creek, Nevada wasn't much of a town. Just enough stores to keep people fed, just enough bars to keep them numb, and just enough indifference to let a child disappear without anyone noticing. Marcus started walking. His routine never changed. Check the dumpster behind the gas station first. Sometimes they threw out day-old sandwiches still wrapped in plastic. Then the recycling bins near the grocery store. Aluminum cans meant quarters. Quarters meant survival. He moved like a ghost through the back alleys, avoiding eye contact with adults. Adults meant questions. Questions meant police. Police meant foster homes. And foster homes, he'd learned the hard way, meant people who smiled at caseworkers and stopped smiling the moment the door closed. Never again. His sneakers had holes in both toes, but he didn't mind. He'd walked barefoot before. This was practically luxury. The morning sun climbed higher as Marcus counted his findings. 6 cans. Maybe 30 cents if the machine at the grocery store actually worked today. Not enough for food. Barely enough for hope. But then he heard it. A sound that stopped his heart cold. Go. 3 blocks away in a world Marcus couldn't imagine, Victor Stone knelt beside his daughter's bed and brushed blonde curls from her sleeping face. Wake up, little bird. Emma's eyes fluttered open. A smile spread across her face before she was fully conscious. Daddy? Pancake time. You want motorcycles or butterflies? She sat up so fast she nearly headbutted him. Motorcycles, obviously. Iron, as the club called him, laughed. It was a sound most people never heard. The president of the Iron Wolves MC wasn't known for laughter. He was known for violence, for loyalty, for the kind of cold stare that made grown men confess sins they hadn't even committed. But here in this moment, he was just a father making breakfast. Motorcycles it is, he said. Get dressed. I'll start the batter. Emma scrambled out of bed, her tiny feet padding across the wooden floor. Can I bring my picture to school today? The one I drew of you and me and the whole club. Iron paused at the door. The one where Uncle Hatchet looks like a potato. He does look like a potato. Fair point. Yeah, bring it. He walked to the kitchen, pulling ingredients from cabinets with hands that had done terrible things and gentle things in equal measure. The clubhouse was quiet this early. Most of the boys didn't roll in until noon, sleeping off whatever the night had brought them. But Iron was always up at dawn, had been since the Marines. Some habits you don't shake. Some habits keep you alive. Emma appeared in the kitchen wearing her favorite dress, purple with tiny white flowers, and the small leather jacket Iron had custom made for her birthday. She wore it everywhere, even in summer, even to bed sometimes. Looking tough, little bird. She flexed her arms. I'm the scariest person in first grade. I believe it. He slid a plate of motorcycle-shaped pancakes in front of her and watched her eat. Syrup dripped down her chin. She didn't care. Neither did he. This was everything. This small person with syrup on her face was his entire universe. 2 years ago, cancer had taken his wife. Slow and cruel and unstoppable. Maria had made him promise two things before she died. Take care of Emma, and don't let the darkness swallow you. He'd kept both promises. Barely. Daddy, yeah, baby? Tommy Hendricks said you're a criminal. Iron's jaw tightened. Did he? I told him you're not. I told him you help people. And then I told him his haircut looks stupid. Despite himself, Iron smiled. That's my girl. Was I wrong about you helping people? He set down his coffee and looked at her, really looked at her, 6 years old, and already asking questions that grown men avoided. No, Emma, you weren't wrong. Sometimes helping people means doing things other folks don't understand. But everything I do to protect people I love. She nodded like this made perfect sense. Okay, can I have more pancakes? You already ate 4. I'm a growing wolf. Iron laughed again, twice in one morning, a new record, and made more pancakes. The drive to school took 12 minutes. Iron rode his bike slowly. Emma secured in the custom sidecar he'd built just for her. She waved at everyone they passed. Half the town waved back. The other half pretended they didn't see. That was fine. Iron didn't need their approval. He needed their fear. At the school gate, he helped Emma climb out and handed her the backpack that was almost as big as she was. Remember? I know. She rolled her eyes with 6-year-old expertise. Don't talk to strangers. Don't go anywhere with anyone except you or Uncle Hatchet. Come straight out when the bell rings. That's my girl. You say that a lot. Because it's always true. She hugged his leg, she couldn't reach any higher, and ran toward the building. Blonde curls bouncing with each step. Iron watched until she disappeared inside. He always watched. He would stand there until the last possible second every single day, because he knew something most parents tried to forget. The world was full of monsters, and monsters loved easy prey. Marcus found the sandwich behind the gas station at exactly 2:47 p.m. Ham and cheese on white bread, only slightly stale, still wrapped in plastic. His hands shook as he grabbed it, looking around to make sure no one saw. Thank you, he whispered, though he wasn't sure who he was thanking. He shoved the sandwich into his jacket and started walking toward his spot by the old warehouse. He liked to eat there, quiet, hidden, safe. But he never made it. The scream cut through the afternoon air like a knife through paper, high-pitched, terrified, young. Marcus froze. Every instinct told him to run the other direction. Don't get involved. Don't be seen. Don't exist. But his legs wouldn't move. Another scream. Closer now. And then words, small, desperate words that carved into his chest. No, let me go! Daddy! Daddy! A little girl's voice. Maybe 5 or 6 years old. Marcus's heart slammed against his ribs. He remembered that voice. Not hers specifically, but the sound of it. The terror. The helplessness. He remembered screaming like that once. When the fire came. When the smoke filled his lungs. When hands that should have saved him hadn't come in time. No one had helped him. No one had come. His feet started moving before his brain caught up. Emma had followed the rules. She'd walked straight out when the bell rang. She'd started toward the pickup spot where Daddy always waited. But Daddy wasn't there yet. His bike wasn't in its usual place. Maybe he was running late. Maybe club business. He'd told her to wait if that ever happened. Just wait and don't move. So she waited. 5 minutes, then 10. And then the white van pulled up. The man inside smiled. He had nice teeth and kind eyes and a voice like honey. Hi there, sweetheart. Your dad sent me. He had an emergency at the clubhouse. Asked me to pick you up. Emma took a step back. My daddy didn't tell me about that. It just happened. He didn't have time to call the school. But look, the man held up a phone. I can call him right now if you want. Emma's heart was beating fast, but the man seemed so nice. And what if Daddy really was in trouble? What if he needed her? I'm not supposed to go with strangers. Smart girl, your dad taught you well. The man nodded approvingly. Tell you what, I'll call him. Put him on speaker and he can tell you himself. Deal. He dialed a number. It rang once, twice. Hey, baby. The voice sounded like Daddy, almost like Daddy. But something was wrong. Something was off. Daddy. Yeah, little bird, it's me. Go with my friend. Okay, I'll see you soon. But Daddy never called her little bird on the phone. Only in person. Only when he was holding her or tucking her in or making pancakes. Emma backed away. That's not my daddy. The man's smile disappeared. His hand shot out, grabbing her wrist with fingers like iron clamps. Get in the van, kid, now. Emma screamed. She screamed louder than she'd ever screamed in her life. Daddy, Daddy, help me! The man's other hand clamped over her mouth. He started dragging her toward the open van door. Emma bit his palm. He cursed and jerked his hand away. Let me go! She kicked and thrashed and fought with everything her small body had. But she was 6 years old, and he was a grown man. And the van door was getting closer. This was how it ended. This was how the monsters won. And then, hey! Marcus didn't think. Couldn't think. He just ran toward the man and the screaming girl and did the only thing that made sense. He grabbed the biggest rock he could find and threw it as hard as he could. It struck the man's shoulder. Not enough to stop him, but enough to make him turn. What the? Marcus saw his face now. Hard eyes, a scar across his chin, a snake tattoo coiling up his neck. The man looked at Marcus skinny, dirty small, and laughed. Get lost, street rat. This ain't your business. Let her go. Marcus's voice shook. His whole body shook, but he didn't run. The man tightened his grip on the girl. I said get lost, before I hurt you too. Marcus picked up another rock. His hands were trembling so bad he almost dropped it. I said, let her go. Something flickered in the man's eyes. Annoyance, then anger. He shoved the girl to the ground and took a step toward Marcus. You want to be a hero, kid? Fine. Heroes die all the time. He pulled a knife from his belt. The blade caught the afternoon sun. Marcus felt his legs turn to water. Every voice in his head screamed at him to run, to drop the rock, to save himself. But then he heard the girl crying behind the man. Small, terrified sobs. And he saw himself 2 years ago. Alone, helpless, praying for someone, anyone to come. No one had come for him. But he was here now. He was here. You want her. Marcus's voice cracked, but he didn't stop. Come through me first. The man moved fast, faster than Marcus expected. The knife slashed toward his face. Marcus ducked barely and felt the blade whistle past his ear. He swung the rock. It connected with the man's knee. A howl of pain. The man stumbled. Marcus didn't wait. He threw himself at the girl, grabbing her hand. Run! Run now! She was frozen eyes wide with shock. Come on! He yanked her to her feet and they ran. Down the sidewalk, around the corner, past the gas station. But the man was already up. Already chasing. You little... Marcus could hear the heavy footsteps behind them. Getting closer. The girl was crying, struggling to keep up. She was too slow. They were both too slow. In here, Marcus spotted an opening between two buildings, a narrow gap barely wide enough for a child. He shoved the girl through first, then squeezed in after her. They pressed against the wall, trying not to breathe. Footsteps thundered past. Where are you? I'll find you. I'll find both of you. The man's voice echoed off the walls. Marcus clamped his hand over the girl's mouth gently, carefully, and held his finger to his lips. She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. They waited. Seconds felt like hours. Finally, the footsteps faded. A car door slammed in the distance. An engine roared to life. The van was leaving. Marcus let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. He's gone, he whispered. You're okay. You're safe. The girl threw her arms around him and sobbed into his chest. He didn't know what to do. No one had hugged him in 2 years, maybe longer. Slowly, awkwardly, he patted her back. It's okay. It's okay now. Emma couldn't stop shaking. The bad man, the van, the knife. It all swirled together in her head like a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. But this boy, this dirty, thin, bleeding boy, had saved her. He'd saved her. "What's your name?" she asked between sobs. "Marcus." "I'm Emma." She wiped her nose on her sleeve. "You're hurt." He looked down. Blood dripped from a gash on his arm where the knife had grazed him. He hadn't even felt it until now. "It's nothing." "It's not nothing, you're bleeding." She dug through her backpack and pulled out a napkin from her lunch. "Here, put this on it." He stared at the napkin like it was made of gold. "Thanks." She watched him press it to his arm, watched him wince at the pressure. "Why did you help me?" she asked. "You don't even know me." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "Because no one helped me," he finally said. "When I needed it. When the fire came and took my mom and dad. No one came. And I couldn't let that happen to you." Emma's eyes went wide. "Your mom and dad died." He nodded. "Do you have a new family?" "No." "Where do you live?" He looked away. "Nowhere." Emma's small heart cracked open. This boy had nothing. No home, no family, no one. And he'd still thrown himself between her and a monster. "We need to call my daddy," she said. "He'll help. He helps everyone." Marcus shook his head. "Adults don't help kids like me. My daddy's different. She hesitated. "He's kind of scary, but he's good. I promise." She pulled out her phone, the one Daddy had given her for emergencies only, and dialed with shaking fingers. It rang once. "Emma." Her father's voice broke the dam inside her. "Daddy." She heard the sound of glass shattering. He'd dropped something. "Emma, what's wrong? Where are you?" "A man tried to take me. A man in a white van. He grabbed me and tried to put me in his car and..." "Where are you?" His voice had changed. Gone cold. Deadly. "Behind the gas station. The one near school. Daddy, a boy saved me. He fought the man. He's hurt. He's bleeding. Please come. Please. Don't move. Do not move. I'm coming." The line went dead. Emma looked at Marcus. "He's coming. He's going to help." But Marcus was staring at her jacket, at the small patch on the shoulder. A wolf's head with the words, "Iron Wolves MC" underneath. His face went pale. "Your dad, is he a biker?" "Yeah, he's the president." Marcus felt the world tilt sideways. He'd just thrown rocks at a kidnapper to save the daughter of a motorcycle club president. The kind of people he'd been told his whole life to avoid. The kind of people who settled scores in ways that didn't involve police. "I should go," he said, trying to stand. Emma grabbed his hand. "No, you can't go. You're hurt and you saved me, and my daddy will want to thank you." "I don't need thanks, I just..." A sound stopped him cold. Engines. Dozens of them, getting louder by the second. A rumble that shook the ground beneath their feet. Marcus looked toward the street and saw them coming. Motorcycles. 30. 40. Maybe more. A river of chrome and leather and barely contained violence. And at the front, riding faster than the rest, was a man whose face looked carved from stone. Victor Stone. Iron. Emma's father. Marcus tried to run, but his legs wouldn't work. The bike screamed to a stop. Men dismounted. Heavy boots hit concrete. And then Iron was actually running toward the gap between the buildings. He dropped to his knees and pulled Emma into his arms so hard Marcus thought he might crush her. "Emma, Emma, oh God, Emma." "I'm okay, Daddy. I'm okay. He saved me. Marcus saved me." Iron looked up, his eyes cold, evaluating dangerous found Marcus. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Marcus tried to speak, tried to explain, but no words came. Iron released Emma just enough to look at her face. "The man, did he hurt you?" "No." Marcus stopped him. He had a knife, and Marcus fought him anyway. Iron's gaze returned to Marcus. to the blood on his arm, to the torn clothes, to the thin frame and hollow cheeks that spoke of months without enough food. You fought a man with a knife. Marcus managed a nod. For a girl you'd never met. Another nod. Iron stood slowly. He was massive, up close. 6 foot 4 arms like tree trunks, tattoos climbing up his neck. He took a step toward Marcus. Marcus flinched, expecting pain, but Iron just extended his hand. Thank you. Marcus stared at the hand. Calloused. Scarred. Waiting. Slowly, hesitantly, he reached out and shook it. Iron's grip was gentle, almost careful, like he knew Marcus might break. What's your name, son? Marcus. Where are your parents, Marcus? The word hit him like a punch. Parents. Gone, he whispered. House fire. 2 years ago. Something shifted in Iron's eyes. The cold calculation melted into something else, something that looked almost like recognition. Who takes care of you? Nobody. The club had gathered behind Iron now, 40 men, all of them staring at the small boy who'd done what none of them had been there to do. Iron turned to a man standing at his shoulder, tall, bald, with a face like a friendly brick wall. Hatchet. Get the van's description, plates, anything the kid can remember. Then put every brother on the street. I want this man found before sunset. Hatchet nodded and pulled out his phone. Iron turned back to Marcus. You're hurt. You need a doctor. Marcus shook his head. I'm fine. I should go. Go where? The question hung in the air. Marcus didn't have an answer. He didn't have anywhere. He never had anywhere. Iron knelt down so they were eye to eye. You saved my daughter's life. The life of the only person in this world I care about. You think I'm going to let you walk away bleeding and alone? Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. A wall he'd built brick by brick over 2 years of survival. I don't need help, he said, but his voice betrayed him. Everyone needs help, son. Even the ones who forgot how to ask. Emma stepped forward and took Marcus's hand, her small fingers intertwined with his. Please come with us, please. You're my hero. I don't want you to go. Marcus looked at her, at those big, trusting eyes that hadn't learned yet that the world could be cruel. He'd forgotten that kids could look like that. Hopeful, believing. Just for tonight, Iron said. We'll get you cleaned up, fed. You can decide what you want tomorrow. Marcus didn't trust it, didn't trust any of it, but he was so tired, so hungry, and his arm really, really hurt. Okay, he whispered. Just for tonight. Iron nodded once. Then he stood and turned to face his men. Listen up. Someone tried to take my daughter today. My daughter. And this kid who has nothing, who lives on the street, who's been forgotten by everyone who should have protected him, this kid stood between my little girl and a monster. The bikers shifted, murmuring. We owe him. Every single one of us owes him. And we're going to find the man who tried to take Emma. We're going to find him, and we're going to show him what happens when you touch a wolf's child. A roar went up from the crowd. Fists raised, engines revved. But Marcus barely heard any of it, because Emma was still holding his hand. And for the first time in 2 years, he didn't feel invisible. The ride to the clubhouse took 15 minutes, but Marcus felt every second. He sat in a truck between Hatchet and another biker, watching the town blur past the window. Emma had wanted to ride with him, but Iron had insisted she stay close. You okay, kid? Hatchet's voice was gruff but not unkind. Yeah. That was a brave thing you did. Marcus shrugged. He didn't feel brave. He felt scared and confused and like he might throw up. I mean it, Hatchet continued. Most adults would have looked the other way. You're 8 years old and you charged a grown man with a knife. That's either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen. Probably stupid. Hatchet laughed, a deep rumbling sound. Maybe. But stupid and brave are closer cousins than people think. The truck turned down a long dirt road. In the distance, Marcus could see a large building surrounded by motorcycles and trucks. A sign over the entrance read, Iron Wolves MC. His stomach tightened. He'd heard stories about places like this. Bad stories, the kind that ended with bodies in shallow graves. But Emma had said her dad was good, and Emma had seemed so sure. The truck parked. Hatchet helped Marcus out. Doc's inside, he'll patch you up. Marcus followed him through the front door and stopped dead. It wasn't what he expected. Yes, there were bikers everywhere, rough-looking men with tattoos and leather vests. But there were also women cooking in a huge kitchen, kids running around playing tag, and a wall covered in family photos. Music played from somewhere in the back. Someone was laughing. It looked almost normal. Come on. Hatchet led him to a back room where an older man with a gray beard waited with a first aid kit. Heard you're the hero of the hour, the man said. I'm Doc. Let me see that arm. Marcus sat on the table and let Doc examine the gash. Knife wound. Not deep enough for stitches, but it'll hurt like hell for a few days. He started cleaning it with antiseptic. Marcus hissed at the sting. You're lucky. An inch higher and we'd be talking surgery. I'm always lucky, Marcus muttered. Doc raised an eyebrow. That's so. No, not really. Doc smiled sadly. Honest kid. I like that. He bandaged the wound carefully professionally. Marcus wondered if he'd been a real doctor before joining the club. There. Good as new, or close enough. Doc handed him a bottle of water and a granola bar. Eat. You look like you haven't had a decent meal in weeks. Marcus wanted to say he was fine, but his hands were already tearing open the wrapper. He'd eaten the entire bar before Doc could blink. When's the last time you ate? Marcus swallowed. Yesterday. I found a sandwich behind the gas station. Doc's face tightened. Jesus. He left the room and came back 2 minutes later with a plate piled high, sandwich, chips, apple cookies. Eat slowly. Your stomach's probably shrunk. Marcus wanted to inhale all of it, but he forced himself to take small bites. The food was so good, it almost hurt. The door opened. Emma ran in with Iron right behind her. Marcus! She threw her arms around him, nearly knocking the plate out of his hands. Careful, little bird. Let him eat. She pulled back, beaming. I told everyone what you did. You're famous now. I'm not famous. You are. Everyone's talking about you. You're a hero. Marcus felt his cheeks burn. He didn't know how to handle this. Any of this. Iron pulled up a chair and sat across from him. How's the arm? Fine. Doc give you food? Yeah. Marcus lifted the plate as proof. Good. Iron leaned forward, elbows on knees. I need you to tell me everything you remember about the man who tried to take Emma. Everything. No detail is too small. Marcus set down his sandwich. He closed his eyes and went back to that moment. The white van, the man's face, the knife. He was tall, maybe 6 feet, strong, brown hair short. He had a scar on his chin and a tattoo on his neck. What kind of tattoo? A snake, eating its own tail. Iron's face went still, completely still, like a mask dropping into place. Hatchet, standing by the door, sucked in a breath. Boss, I know. Marcus looked between them. What is it? Iron's jaw tightened. That tattoo. It belongs to a man named Dale Whitmore. He runs with a crew out of Carson City. You know him. Know of him. Iron's voice had gone cold, colder than before. He's connected to things I hoped would never touch this town. Bad things. Things that involve children. Marcus felt ice slide down his spine. What kind of things? Iron looked at Emma, then back at Marcus. He seemed to be weighing how much to say. The kind of things that make men like me want to burn the world down. A heavy silence filled the room. Then Hatchet's phone buzzed. He answered it, listened for 30 seconds, and his face went dark. Boss, we got a problem. What? Someone just threw a brick through the clubhouse's back window. Message attached. Iron stood. What does it say? Hatchet held up the note. Iron read it aloud, voice flat. Return the boy, or more children disappear. Emma gasped. Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. They knew. The kidnappers knew he could identify them, and now they wanted him back. Iron crumpled the note in his fist. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, calm, terrifying. They want war. They picked the wrong family. He turned to Marcus. You're not going anywhere, son. Not tonight, not tomorrow, not until I personally guarantee that every single person involved in this is no longer breathing. Marcus stared at him. This man, this terrifying, powerful man, was willing to go to war for a homeless kid he'd known for less than an hour. Why? I don't understand, Marcus whispered. Why do you care what happens to me? Iron knelt down until they were eye to eye. His voice softened just slightly. Because 2 years ago, my daughter lost her mother, and I made a promise that I would never let her feel alone again. He paused. You lost everything too, didn't you, parents? Home. Hope. Marcus nodded, unable to speak. Then you understand something most people never learn. The world doesn't protect the innocent. People do. And sometimes the people who protect the hardest are the ones who remember what it felt like to have nobody. He put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. You protected my daughter when no one else could. Now it's our turn to protect you. Emma wiggled between them and grabbed both their hands. See, I told you, my daddy was good. Marcus looked at Iron, at Emma, at the room full of bikers who had taken him in without question. For the first time in 2 years, he let himself feel something he'd forgotten existed. Hope. That night, Marcus lay in a real bed for the first time in 23 months. The sheets were clean. The pillow was soft. The door locked from the inside. He couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the knife, the white van, the man's cold, dead eyes, and the note, return the boy, or more children disappear. Someone knocked softly. Marcus, you awake? Emma's voice. He sat up. Yeah. The door cracked open. She stood there in pajamas covered in cartoon wolves, hugging a stuffed bear to her chest. I can't sleep, she whispered. I keep seeing the bad man. Me too. She hesitated. Can I stay in here? Just for a little bit? Marcus didn't know what to say. He'd been alone so long he'd forgotten what company felt like. Sure. She crossed the room and climbed onto the end of the bed, curling up with her bear. His name is Mr. Whiskers, she said, holding up the bear. He protects me from nightmares. Does he work? Sometimes. She paused. You can borrow him if you want. She held out the bear. Marcus stared at it. This small, silly stuffed animal that meant everything to a 6-year-old girl, and she was offering it to him. His throat tightened. Thanks, he managed. But you keep him. I think you need him more tonight. Emma nodded and hugged Mr. Whiskers close. They sat in silence for a while. Then Emma asked, Are you scared? Yes. Me too. She looked at him with wide eyes. But I'm less scared with you here. Marcus didn't know how to respond to that. How could he make anyone less scared? He was just a kid. A homeless kid who couldn't even protect himself. But he'd protected her. Maybe that meant something. I won't let anyone hurt you, he heard himself say. I promise. Emma smiled a small, tired smile. That's what Daddy says. He seems like he keeps his promises. He does, always. She yawned, eyes already drooping. You keep yours too, I can tell. She was asleep within minutes, curled up at the foot of the bed with Mr. Whiskers clutched to her chest. Marcus watched her breathe, in and out, in and out. So peaceful, so trusting. He made a silent vow. No one would touch this girl, ever again. Not while he was breathing. The world had failed him. But maybe, just maybe, he could keep it from failing her. He lay back and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow the hunt would begin. Tomorrow everything would change. But tonight, for the first time in 2 years, Marcus Cole wasn't alone. And somewhere outside the wolves were gathering. Marcus woke to the smell of bacon. For 3 seconds he forgot where he was. For 3 seconds he was back in his mother's kitchen, 6 years old, watching her flip pancakes while his father read the newspaper at the table. Then reality crashed back. He sat up fast, heart pounding. The room was unfamiliar. Clean walls, a window with actual curtains, a door that had stayed closed all night. Emma was gone from the foot of the bed. Panic seized his chest. He threw off the covers and stumbled toward the door, yanking it open. "Whoa, easy there." Hatchet stood in the hallway, a coffee mug in one hand. "Where's Emma?" "Kitchen, with her dad." "Relax, kid. Nobody's taking anyone today." Marcus forced himself to breathe. In and out, in and out. "How's the arm?" He looked down at the bandage. It throbbed, but not as badly as yesterday. "Fine. Doc wants to check it after breakfast. Come on. Food's ready." Marcus followed Hatchet down a long hallway. Voices grew louder with each step. Laughter, the clatter of dishes, normal sounds that felt foreign to him now. The kitchen was chaos. 15 bikers crowded around a massive table, shoveling eggs and bacon onto plates. Women moved between the stove and the counter, refilling coffee and swatting hands away from the fresh biscuits. 3 kids chased each other around the chairs while a dog barked at their heels. Marcus stopped in the doorway, overwhelmed. Then Emma spotted him. "Marcus!" She abandoned her pancakes and ran across the room, nearly tackling him. "You're awake, I saved you a seat." "Come on." She grabbed his hand and dragged him to the table. Every eye in the room followed him. Marcus had never felt so visible in his life. Iron sat at the head of the table, watching. He gave Marcus a single nod. "Sit. Eat." Marcus sat. Someone placed a plate in front of him, piled with more food than he'd seen in months. Eggs, bacon, toast, hash browns, a biscuit the size of his fist. His hands shook as he picked up his fork. "Take it slow," a woman's voice said. He looked up. A middle-aged woman with kind eyes and silver streaks in her dark hair smiled at him. "Your stomach's not used to this much. Small bites." "Thank you." She squeezed his shoulder gently and moved away. Marcus ate, slowly like she said, but each bite tasted like a miracle. Emma chattered beside him, telling him about the clubhouse, about her favorite hiding spots, about how Uncle Hatchet once fell off his bike into a mud puddle. "I did not fall," Hatchet grumbled from across the table. "I was pushed. By the ground." Laughter rippled through the room. For a few minutes, Marcus almost forgot why he was there. Then Iron's phone rang. The room went silent. Iron answered, listened for 30 seconds, and his face turned to stone. "Where?" "More listening." "Don't touch anything. I'm on my way." He hung up and stood. "Hatchet. With me. Now." The 2 men headed for the door. Iron paused, looking back at Marcus. "Stay here. Don't leave the clubhouse. Someone will be watching the perimeter at all times." "What happened?" Iron's jaw tightened. "They found the van." He was gone before Marcus could respond. Emma's hand found his under the table. "It's okay," she whispered. "Daddy will fix it. He always fixes everything." Marcus nodded, but his stomach had turned to ice. Finding the van meant finding evidence. Evidence meant they were getting closer to the man who'd tried to take Emma, and the man who'd written that note. Return the boy, or more children disappear. They weren't going to return him, which meant someone else might disappear. Because of him. The woman with kind eyes appeared beside him. "My name's Rosa. I'm Hatchet's wife." She crouched down to his level. "You look like you've got the weight of the world on those shoulders. It's my fault." "What is the note?" "They want me. If I just left..." "Stop right there." Rosa's voice was gentle but firm. "You think running would help? You think those men would stop hunting if you disappeared?" Marcus didn't answer. Men like that don't stop. They don't negotiate. They take what they want, and they hurt whoever gets in their way. The only thing keeping this town safe right now is the fact that the Iron Wolves are hunting them instead of the other way around. But if someone else gets hurt because of me, then it's on them, not you. You saved that little girl. You're a hero, Marcus, whether you believe it or not. She stood and headed back to the kitchen. Hero. The word felt wrong. Heroes were strong. brave, capable. Marcus was just a kid who'd been too stupid to run. Emma tugged his sleeve. Want to see my room? I have drawings. He nodded, grateful for the distraction. She led him through the clubhouse, past a common room with leather couches and a pool table, past a small chapel with candles flickering in the windows, to a door painted bright purple. This is my space. Daddy lets me decorate it however I want. She pushed open the door. The walls were covered in drawings. Motorcycles. Wolves. Stick figures with leather jackets. One drawing showed a man with a beard holding hands with a smaller figure in a purple dress. That's me and Daddy, Emma explained. I drew it after Mommy went to heaven. Marcus's throat tightened. How old were you, Bo? 4. I don't remember her face anymore, just her voice. She used to sing to me every night. I'm sorry, Emma shrugged with the resilience only children possess. Daddy says she watches us from the stars. Sometimes I wave to her. Marcus looked at the drawing again. A man and his daughter. Alone in the world, but holding on to each other. He understood that kind of lonely. My mom used to make chocolate chip cookies every Sunday, he heard himself say. I can still smell them sometimes, when I'm dreaming. Emma sat on her bed hugging Mr. Whiskers. What happened to her? If it's okay to ask. Marcus sat beside her. He hadn't talked about this in 2 years. The words had been locked in a box inside his chest, rusting and sharp. But Emma had shared her pain. It seemed only fair. There was a fire. I was 6. I woke up and the house was full of smoke. My mom was screaming my name, but I couldn't find her. The ceiling came down and something hit my arm. He held up his left hand, showing the scar. Someone pulled me out a window. A neighbor, I think. I never saw who. What about your dad? He went back in. For my mom. Neither of them came out. Emma's eyes filled with tears. That's so sad. Yeah. Do you miss them? Every day, every single day. She reached out and took his scarred hand in her small one. Maybe your mom and my mom are friends now, in heaven. Maybe they're both watching us. Something cracked inside Marcus. A dam breaking, a wall crumbling. He hadn't cried in 2 years, not once. Crying didn't help. Crying was weakness. Crying meant you still believed the world could be kind. But now in this room, covered with a 6-year-old's drawings holding hands with a girl who'd nearly been stolen from her father, Marcus felt tears slide down his cheeks. He turned away embarrassed. It's okay to cry, Emma said softly. Daddy cries sometimes too, when he thinks I'm asleep. Marcus wiped his face. He does. Yeah. After Mommy died, I heard him crying every night for a whole year. But in the morning, he'd smile and make me pancakes and pretend everything was fine. That's what grown-ups do. They hide their sad. You're pretty smart for 6, she grinned. Everyone says that. The door burst open. Hatchet stood there breathing hard. Marcus, boss needs you. Now. Iron was waiting in a room Marcus hadn't seen before. Maps covered the walls, photos, printed documents. A whiteboard with names and locations scrawled in red marker. This wasn't just a clubhouse. This was a war room. Sit down, Iron said. Marcus sat across from him. Emma had tried to follow, but Rosa intercepted her promising cookies and cartoons. The van was abandoned outside of town, torched. But we found something inside. He slid a photograph across the table. Marcus looked at it and felt his stomach heave. Photographs. Dozens of them. Children's faces. Boys and girls. Ages ranging from 5 to 12. What is this? Evidence. That snake tattoo son of a bitch is part of a trafficking ring. They've been operating across 3 states snatching kids and selling them to the highest bidder. Marcus's hands started shaking. Selling them. Don't make me explain further. Iron's voice was rough. The point is, Emma wasn't random. They'd been watching her. Planning. They have files on at least 30 children in this county alone. Files. Iron slid another photo across. This one showed a document with a picture clipped to the corner. Emma's school photo. Beneath it typed information, age, height, weight, daily schedule, father's name and occupation. They'd been hunting her. "How long?" Marcus whispered. "Based on the dates, at least 3 months. 3 months. While Emma walked to school, while she played in the park, while she hugged her stuffed bear at night, someone had been watching, waiting, planning the moment they'd snatch her and sell her like property." Marcus wanted to throw up. "Why are you showing me this?" Iron leaned forward. "Because I need you to understand what we're fighting. This isn't one man with a grudge. This is an organization. Connected. Funded. Protected." "Protected by who?" Iron hesitated. Then he pulled out one more photograph. A man in a suit shaking hands with Dale Whitmore. The man Marcus recognized from television. Billboards. Campaign signs. Mayor Charles Reed. Marcus's blood went cold. The mayor. "We don't have proof yet, but the money trail goes somewhere, and his office keeps blocking investigations into missing children. Every time the police get close, the case files disappear. Every time a witness comes forward, they suddenly change their story. So the police can't help. Won't help. There's a difference." Iron's jaw tightened. "Some of them are good men doing their best, but the ones at the top, bought and paid for." Marcus stared at the photographs, all those faces, all those children who might already be gone, already lost to the darkness. "What do we do?" Iron studied him. "We don't do anything. You're 8 years old. This isn't your fight. They made it my fight when they threw that brick through your window." "Kid." "I saw his face. I can identify him. I can testify. I can help. You can also get killed. So can you. So can Emma. So can everyone in this clubhouse." Marcus's voice rose. "They're not going to stop. You said it yourself. And if running won't help, then I need to help fight." Silence. Iron stared at him for a long moment. "You remind me of someone." "Who?" "Me. At your age." Iron almost smiled. "Stupid. Stubborn. Too brave for your own good." "Is that a compliment?" "It's a warning." Iron stood and walked to the window. "I joined the Marines when I was 18. Served 2 tours in Afghanistan. Saw things no man should see. Lost friends. Almost lost myself." He turned back. "When I came home, I was broken, angry, looking for a fight because fighting was all I knew. The club saved me, gave me purpose, a family, something worth protecting." He walked back to the table. Then Maria came along. She saw something in me nobody else did. Something good. She believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. And when Emma was born, his voice cracked slightly. When Emma was born, I finally understood why people talk about dying for someone. I would burn this world to ashes for that little girl. Marcus nodded. He understood. Maybe better than Iron realized. "You've got that same fire in you," Iron continued. "I saw it yesterday when you charged a man twice your size with nothing but rocks and rage. That fire can save you, or it can destroy you. Depends on what you feed it. I don't want revenge. I just want them to stop hurting people." "Then you're already ahead of where I was." Iron reached out and gripped Marcus's shoulder. "Here's what we're going to do. You stay close. You stay safe. And when the time comes, if the time comes, you tell your story. Every detail, every face, every word you remember. Can you do that?" "Yes." "Good." Iron released him. "Now go find Emma. She's been asking about you every 5 minutes since you got here. I think she's decided you're her new best friend." Marcus stood to leave. At the door, he paused. "Thank you for believing me, for not throwing me back on the street." Iron's expression softened. "You saved my daughter. I should be thanking you for the rest of my life. Now get out of here. Let me work." Marcus found Emma in the common room, surrounded by crayons and paper. "There you are." She held up a drawing. "Look, I made this for you." It was a picture of 2 stick figures. One tall with brown hair, one small with blonde curls. They were holding hands. Above them, written in purple crayon, "Marcus and Emma friends forever." His throat closed up. Do you like it? I love it. Really, really. Her smile could have lit up the whole state. I'm going to make more. One for every day you're here. That way you'll always remember. Marcus sat beside her and watched her draw. She narrated everything. This is Daddy fighting bad guys. This is Uncle Hatchet eating a hamburger. This is the mean man running away because he's scared of us. It was the most peaceful hour Marcus had experienced in 2 years. Then the front door slammed open. 3 bikers rushed in shouting for Iron. Boss, we got a problem. Big one. Iron emerged from the war room, Hatchet on his heels. What? Whitmore's crew. They hit the Martinez family. Every drop of warmth drained from the room. Who are the Martinez family? Marcus whispered to Emma. Her face had gone pale. They have a daughter, Luna. She's in my class. Iron's voice cut through the chaos. What happened? They tried to grab Luna on her way home from soccer practice. Her brother was with her. He fought back. And the biker hesitated. The brother's in the hospital, broken ribs, collapsed lung. He's 12. Iron closed his eyes. When he opened them, something terrible lived in their depths. The girl, safe. She got away, ran to a neighbor's house. Where's Whitmore now? Gone. Again. But boss. The biker swallowed. They left another note. He handed over a crumpled piece of paper. Iron read it silently. His hand trembled not with fear, but with barely contained fury. What does it say? Hatchet asked. Iron handed it to him. Hatchet read aloud, This was a warning. The next one won't be. Return the boy. You have 24 hours. Emma grabbed Marcus's arm. They want you. They want to take you away. They're not taking anyone, Iron said. His voice was calm now. Too calm. Hatchet, call in every chapter within 200 miles. I want 200 men here by nightfall. Boss, that's going to start a war. The war already started. Iron looked at Marcus. They drew first blood. They hurt a child, my child, other children. They think they can scare us into giving up a kid who had the courage to stand up to them. He walked to the center of the room. They think we're criminals, thugs, men without honor. His voice rose. They think wrong. We are brothers. We are fathers. We are the line between monsters and the innocent. Every biker in the room stood straighter. 24 hours. Fine. In 24 hours, I want Dale Whitmore in chains or in the ground. I want his entire operation dismantled. I want the mayor and every corrupt cop who covered for them exposed. He turned to face his men. And I want the world to know what happens when you threaten a wolf's family. The room erupted. Fists pounded tables. Voices roared agreement. Men grabbed phones, calling reinforcements. In the middle of the chaos, Emma held Marcus's hand tight. Are you scared? Yeah. Me too. She leaned against him. But we're together. That makes it less scary. Marcus looked around at the bikers mobilizing for war, at Iron already bent over maps and phone calls, at Hatchet barking orders into a radio. 24 hours ago he'd been alone, hungry, invisible. Now he was at the center of something bigger than he could comprehend, and somewhere out there a man with a snake tattoo was planning his next move. The clock had started. Rosa appeared and crouched beside them. Time to get you two somewhere safe. We have a room in the back, no windows, solid door. You'll stay there until this is over. I want to help, Marcus said. You have helped. Now the best thing you can do is stay alive. She led them through the clubhouse to a reinforced room that looked like it had been designed for exactly this kind of situation. There's food in the mini fridge, books on the shelf, a bathroom through that door. You stay here. You don't open this door for anyone except me, Iron, or Hatchet. Understand? Both children nodded. Rosa hugged them both, something that startled Marcus so much he forgot to stiffen. You're brave kids, both of you. This will be over soon. She left. The lock clicked behind her. Emma immediately started exploring. Look, they have games and snacks and, she gasped, they have a TV. Despite everything, Marcus smiled. They ate snacks and watched cartoons for hours. Emma fell asleep around 7 p.m., curled up on one of the cots with Mr. Whiskers clutched to her chest. Marcus couldn't sleep. He sat by the door listening to the muffled sounds of activity outside. Footsteps. Voices. The distant roar of motorcycles coming and going. War was being waged on the other side of that door, and he was the reason. He thought about the photograph of Emma, the files on 30 other children, the 12-year-old boy now in the hospital with broken ribs. This wasn't just about him anymore. It never had been. This was about every kid who'd ever been forgotten, every child who'd disappeared while the world looked away, every small voice crying out for someone, anyone to help. Marcus had been that kid once, alone, unprotected, waiting for heroes who never came. But now there were people willing to fight. Not perfect people, not angels, but people who understood that some monsters couldn't be reasoned with. Some monsters had to be hunted. A knock at the door made him jump. "It's Hatchet. Open up." Marcus unlocked the door. Hatchet looked exhausted, lines of tension carved deep into his face. "How's Emma?" "Sleeping." "Good." He crouched down to Marcus's level. "I got news. Good and bad." "Good first. We found Whitmore's location, an abandoned warehouse on the edge of town." Marcus's heart jumped. "So you can get him." "That's the bad news." Hatchet's jaw tightened. "The warehouse is on your old territory, the place where you used to sleep, and it's rigged with security cameras, probably guards." Marcus nodded slowly. "I know that warehouse." "What?" "I lived there for 6 months before I found the railroad yard. I know every entrance, every exit, every blind spot the cameras can't see." Hatchet stared at him. "Kid, are you saying what I think you're saying? I can help you get in without being seen." "Absolutely not. Iron would kill me just for considering it." "Then don't tell him. Just let me draw you a map. Show you the layout. You don't have to bring me, just use what I know." Hatchet was quiet for a long moment. "You really want to help that bad?" Those files had 30 kids in them. 30. How many of them have already disappeared? How many more will disappear if we don't stop this tonight? Hatchet rubbed his face with both hands. 1 hour. You draw me everything you remember. Every detail. Then you stay in this room and let the grown-ups handle the rest. Deal." "Deal." Hatchet produced a notebook and pen. Marcus started drawing. Every wall, every door, every window. The drainage pipe only a child could fit through. The loose boards in the eastern wall. The security camera blind spots he'd used to avoid being seen when he was squatting there. When he finished, Hatchet studied the map with wide eyes. "Kid, this is incredible. I'm good at surviving. It's all I've had for 2 years." Hatchet folded the paper and tucked it into his vest. "You might have just saved a lot of lives tonight. Iron's going to be furious I talked to you about this, but..." He shook his head. "You're something else, Marcus Cole. Just a kid who got lucky." "No." Hatchet put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You're a kid who turned nothing into something. Who fought when anyone else would have run. Who survived when the world wanted you to disappear." He stood. "That's not luck. That's strength. And someday when you're older, you're going to realize just how rare that is." He headed for the door. "Hatchet. Yeah. Bring him in alive. I want to testify. I want to look him in the eyes in a courtroom and tell everyone what he did." Hatchet smiled grimly. "I'll do my best, but I'm not making promises about what condition he'll be in when we're done." The door closed. Marcus locked it behind him. Then he sat down beside Emma's cot and watched her sleep. She looked so peaceful, so innocent, so unaware that somewhere in the darkness, her father was riding toward a showdown that would determine everything. "I'll keep you safe," Marcus whispered. "Whatever it takes. I promise." Outside, the sound of motorcycles roared into the night, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. The wolves were on the hunt, and somewhere in an abandoned warehouse, a man with a snake tattoo was about to learn what happened when you threatened the wrong family. The clock read 11:47 p.m. Less than 12 hours remained, and everything was about to change. The clock on the wall read 2:17 a.m. when Marcus heard the first motorcycle return. He hadn't slept. Couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the knife flashing toward his face. The white van, Emma's terrified scream. Emma stirred on her cot, mumbling something about pancakes. Marcus moved to the door and pressed his ear against it. Voices, urgent, angry. He couldn't make out the words, but the tone told him everything. Something had gone wrong. 10 minutes later, the lock clicked. Hatchet stepped inside and Marcus's stomach dropped. Blood covered the front of his vest. A gash ran across his forehead. His knuckles were split and swollen. What happened? Hatchet closed the door behind him and leaned against it, breathing hard. They knew we were coming. How? Don't know. We hit the warehouse exactly like your map showed. Perfect approach. No cameras spotted us. But when we breached... He shook his head. Empty. They'd cleared out maybe an hour before, left behind a few guards to slow us down. That's their blood, not yours. Hatchet looked down at his vest. Most of it. One of them got lucky with a pipe. Where's Iron? Still out there. He's tracking their vehicles with some of the boys. They split into 3 groups heading different directions. Marcus's mind raced. They knew. Someone told them. Yeah. That's what we figured too. Who? Hatchet's jaw tightened. We have ideas. The mayor. Silence. Hatchet. The mayor. We can't prove it, but one of the guards before he stopped talking mentioned getting a call. A warning call from someone at the top. Marcus felt cold spreading through his chest. So they're protected. Really protected. For now, Hatchet pushed off from the door. Iron's not giving up. None of us are. We just need to find them before they disappear completely. What about the other kids, the ones in those files? Hatchet's expression flickered. We found something at the warehouse. Not kids. Records. Detailed records of transactions. Dates, amounts, locations. This thing is bigger than we thought, Marcus. Way bigger. How big? Multi-state operation. Maybe bigger. The FBI should have been involved years ago, but somehow nothing ever stuck. Because people at the top kept killing the investigations. Smart kid. Emma's voice came from behind them, sleepy and scared. Uncle Hatchet, why are you bleeding? Hatchet turned, softening his expression. Just a scratch. Little bird. Bad guys got lucky. Did you catch them? Not yet, but we will. Emma climbed off her cot and walked to Marcus, taking his hand. I had a nightmare. The man with the snake was chasing me. Marcus squeezed her hand. He's not here. You're safe. Promise. Promise. Hatchet watched them with something unreadable in his eyes. You two should try to sleep. Dawn's coming. Iron will be back soon with a new plan. I can't sleep, Marcus said. Neither can I, Emma added. Can we at least come out? It's lonely in here. Hatchet hesitated, then nodded. Common room, but you stay where I can see you. They followed him out of the safe room. The clubhouse was transformed. Maps covered every surface. Radios crackled with updates. Bikers moved in and out. Some bloody, some exhausted, all of them wearing expressions of grim determination. Rosa spotted them and rushed over. You're supposed to be in the safe room. They need it out, Hatchet said. I'll watch them. Rosa looked like she wanted to argue, but instead she pulled Emma into a hug. Hungry? A little. Come on, I'll make hot chocolate. Emma tugged Marcus along. You have to try Rosa's hot chocolate. She puts extra marshmallows. They sat at the kitchen counter while Rosa heated milk on the stove. The activity in the main room continued, but here for a moment things felt almost normal. Rosa, Marcus asked quietly. Yes, honey. How long have you been with the club? She smiled, stirring the pot. 22 years. Met Hatchet when I was 19. He was young and stupid and rode his bike like he wanted to die. What changed? He found something worth living for. She glanced toward the main room where Hatchet was bent over a map with 3 other men. Love does that. Finds the broken pieces and gives them a reason to heal. Marcus thought about that. About finding broken pieces. About reasons to heal. He'd been broken for 2 years, surviving but not living, existing but not belonging, until now. Rosa placed 2 steaming mugs in front of them, piled high with marshmallows. Drink up. Whatever happens next, you'll need your strength. The front door crashed open. Iron strode in, covered in dust and sweat radiating fury. Everyone now. Bikers gathered from every corner. Hatchet moved to Iron's side. Rosa pulled Emma and Marcus to the back of the crowd, but Marcus could still hear every word. We tracked them to a motel outside Carson City. By the time we got there, they'd torched the room and vanished. But we found this. He held up a laptop, scorched but intact. Bruno's working on it now. If there's anything on here about their network, their contacts, their next moves, we'll find it. What about Whitmore? Someone called out. Ghost. He's got people everywhere feeding him information. We move, he knows. We plan, he hears about it. Then how do we catch him? Iron's eyes scanned the room until they landed on Marcus. We stop chasing. We make him come to us. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Hatchet stepped forward. Boss, what are you thinking? He wants the kid. Sent 2 notes saying so. If we can't find him, maybe we let him think he's found us. Marcus's blood turned to ice. Rosa pulled him closer, protective. You're not using this child as bait. I'm not using him as anything. Iron walked toward Marcus, the crowd parting. I'm asking him. He knelt down. Marcus, you don't have to do anything. You've already done more than anyone could expect. But if there's a chance to end this, to stop these men from hurting anyone else, I need to know if you're willing to help. What would I have to do? Just be visible. Let them think we've gotten careless. Draw them out while we have men positioned everywhere they might try to approach. And if they grab me before your men can stop them, Iron's jaw tightened. They won't. But if they do, silence. Emma pushed through to stand beside Marcus. Daddy, no. You can't let them take him. I won't let anyone take him, little bird. That's the whole point. Then why are you asking him to be bait? Because sometimes the only way to catch a predator is to let him think he's hunting. Marcus looked at Emma, at her terrified eyes, at the way she gripped his hand like he might disappear. Then he looked at Iron, at the man who had taken him in, fed him, protected him, treated him like he mattered. The files had 30 kids in them. Iron nodded slowly. How many are still out there, still in danger? We don't know. Maybe all of them. Maybe none. If we don't stop Whitmore, what happens to them? Iron didn't answer. He didn't have to. Marcus closed his eyes. He thought about the fire that took his parents, about the 2 years of sleeping in abandoned cars and eating garbage, about every adult who'd looked right through him like he didn't exist. And then he thought about Emma, about Luna Martinez and her brother in the hospital, about 30 faces in 30 files, 30 children who might already be lost. He opened his eyes. I'll do it. Marcus, no, Emma cried. Emma. He turned to face her. If it was you out there, if you were one of those kids, wouldn't you want someone to try? Tears streamed down her face. But what if you get hurt? Then at least I got hurt trying to help. That's better than hiding while other kids disappear. Iron stood. You're sure? Yes. Then we plan this right. Every angle, every contingency. You will have eyes on you every second. The moment anything goes wrong, we pull you out. Okay. Iron turned to his men. You heard him. We've got work to do. I want surveillance on every approach to the clubhouse. I want shooters on the roof. I want vehicles ready to pursue in any direction. And I want Whitmore's face burned into every brother's memory. The room exploded into action. Rosa pulled Marcus into a fierce hug. You're either the bravest boy I've ever met or the craziest. Maybe both. She laughed through tears. Maybe both. Emma didn't let go of his hand. I'm staying with you, the whole time. Emma. No. We're friends forever, remember. That means I don't leave you alone when you're scared. Marcus looked at Iron. She stays inside, Iron said. But she can watch from the window, if that helps. Emma nodded firmly. It helps. The next 6 hours were a blur. Marcus was positioned on the clubhouse porch, visible from the road but surrounded by hidden protectors. Bikers posed as mechanics in a nearby garage. Others sat in cars at strategic points. Snipers took position on rooftops. It felt like waiting for a bomb to go off. Hatchet sat beside him, pretending to work on a motorcycle engine. You holding up? Yeah. Liar. Marcus almost smiled. Okay, I'm terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Hatchet wiped his hands on a rag. I was scared the first time I went into combat. Afghanistan. 22 years old. Thought I knew everything. Turned out I knew nothing. What did you learn? That the guys who say they're not afraid are either lying or dead. Real courage isn't about not feeling fear. It's about doing the right thing while your whole body screams at you to run. Is that why you joined the club after the war? Partly. I needed brothers. Needed people who understood what I'd seen, what I'd done. The club gave me that. Gave me purpose. He glanced at Marcus. You understand purpose, don't you, even at 8? I understand wanting to matter. Same thing, kid. Same thing. Noon came and went. Nothing happened. 1 o'clock. 2 o'clock. 3. The sun beat down. Marcus's mouth went dry. His eyes ached from scanning every vehicle that passed. Maybe they're not coming, he said. They'll come. Whitmore's desperate. We've got his records, his money trail. If he doesn't get you, you'll testify. He can't let that happen. How do you know he won't just run? Because running means giving up everything. His operation, his contacts, his money. Men like him don't give up power. They fight for it. At 4:47 p.m., Hatchet's radio crackled. Movement on the East Road. White van, no plates. 2 occupants visible. Hatchet's hand moved to his weapon. Copy. All units stand by. Marcus's heart hammered. Is it him? We'll see. The van came into view, moving slowly. Too slowly, like it was looking for something. Looking for him. It stopped 100 yards from the clubhouse. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the passenger door opened. A man stepped out. Even from this distance, Marcus recognized him. The build, the stance, the snake tattoo climbing up his neck. Dale Whitmore. That's him, Marcus whispered. That's the man who tried to take Emma. Hatchet keyed his radio. Confirm visual on target. All units hold. Let him come closer. Whitmore started walking toward the clubhouse. Alone. Hands visible. What was he doing 50 yards? 40? 30? He stopped. I know you're watching. His voice carried across the distance. I know you've got guns on me right now, but I'm not here to fight. Hatchet stood, weapon drawn. Then what are you here for? To talk. To your boss. Man to man. Iron doesn't negotiate with child traffickers. Whitmore smiled. A cold, empty smile. Then maybe he should check his phone, because 5 minutes ago I sent him something he's going to want to see. Inside the clubhouse, someone shouted. Iron burst through the front door, phone in hand, face white as death. What did you send me? Whitmore's smile widened. Insurance. Iron held up his phone. On the screen, a video was playing. Marcus couldn't see it clearly, but he heard Emma's voice in the recording. That's old footage. From before. When we were watching her. Iron's hand shook. You put one camera in her bedroom, months ago. You've been watching her sleep. Not just her. 30 families. 30 cameras. And if anything happens to me, those videos go public. Every parent in this county will know their child was watched, recorded, evaluated. You're bluffing. Am I? Whitmore pulled out a phone. One call. That's all it takes. My people have the upload ready. Every website, every news station, hundreds of hours of footage. Iron's face had gone from white to red. Veins pulsed in his temple. What do you want? The boy. The records you took from the warehouse, and safe passage out of the state. And if I give you all that, the cameras stay secret. The families never know. Life goes on. Marcus felt the world tilting. He was the price. His life for their silence. Iron looked at him. For the first time, Marcus saw doubt in those hard eyes. Don't. Marcus's voice came out stronger than he felt. Don't give him what he wants. Kid. He's lying. Men like him always lie. Even if you give him everything, he'll still release those videos. He'll still hurt people. You can't trust him. Whitmore laughed. Smart boy. Too smart. That's why you're dangerous. I'm not dangerous. I'm just a kid who doesn't want to disappear. Everybody disappears eventually. Maybe, but not today. Marcus stood up from the porch. Hatchet grabbed his arm, but Marcus shook him off. He walked toward Whitmore. Marcus, stop, Iron shouted. But Marcus kept walking. 10 steps, 20, until he stood face to face with the man who had haunted his nightmares. You want me. Here I am. Whitmore's eyes narrowed. What are you doing? Giving you what you asked for. Take me. Let everyone else go. Marcus, no! Emma's scream came from inside the clubhouse. Whitmore studied him. You'd sacrifice yourself for people who didn't even know you existed a week ago. They know me now. And that matters to you. More than you'll ever understand. Something flickered in Whitmore's eyes. Not respect. Something darker. Interest. You've got guts, kid. I'll give you that. He reached out to grab Marcus's shoulder. Marcus moved. He dropped to the ground and rolled left just as 3 gunshots cracked from the rooftops. Whitmore staggered, hit in the shoulder and leg. He screamed and fell. The white van's engine roared to life. It peeled toward them. Marcus scrambled to his feet and ran. Behind him, Whitmore was shouting orders, bleeding into the dirt. Bikers poured out of hiding. Gunfire erupted. The van swerved to avoid a truck blocking the road. Marcus felt hands grab him, lift him, carry him toward the clubhouse. Iron's voice in his ear. I've got you. I've got you. They burst through the front door. Iron set Marcus down and slammed the door shut. Is he dead? Marcus gasped. No, but he's not going anywhere. Through the window, Marcus saw Whitmore being dragged toward the clubhouse by 4 bikers. The van had crashed into a ditch, its driver pinned by the steering wheel. It was over. Or so he thought. Hatchet's radio screamed to life. Boss, we've got incoming police, lots of them, Iron cursed. How many? At least 20 vehicles. State police, FBI, everything. Marcus's heart stopped. The cops. The same cops who'd been bought off. The same system that had protected Whitmore for years. They were coming. Not to help. To stop this. Iron grabbed Marcus's shoulders. Listen to me. Whatever happens next, you remember one thing. You did nothing wrong. You're a victim. An 8-year-old victim. Anyone who says different is lying. What are you going to do? Whatever I have to. He stood and walked to the front door. Outside, sirens wailed. Blue and red lights flickered through the windows. This was supposed to be victory. Why did it feel like defeat? Hatchet appeared beside him. Boss, they've got Whitmore. They're putting him in an ambulance. What about our evidence, the laptop? Bruno uploaded everything to 3 different servers before they got here. Whatever happens to us, that evidence survives. Good. Iron opened the front door and stepped onto the porch, hands raised. 20 officers stood in a semicircle, weapons drawn. And in front of them, stepping out of a black SUV, was Mayor Charles Reed. Victor Stone. The mayor's voice was smug, self-satisfied. You're under arrest for assault, attempted murder, and conspiracy. Your entire club is being taken into custody. On whose authority? Mine and the state of Nevada. Iron didn't move. We caught a child trafficker. We have evidence of a multi-state operation. We have records proving corruption at the highest levels. You have nothing. Reed smiled. illegally obtained evidence, vigilante violence. Your records won't be admissible in any court. Maybe not, but the press will have them by morning. Reed's smile faltered. You're bluffing. Am I? For a long moment, the two men stared at each other. Then Reed turned to the officers. Take them, all of them. What about the boy? Reed's eyes found Marcus through the window. Child Protective Services will handle him. No. Marcus had survived the streets. He'd survived hunger and cold and loneliness. He'd survived a kidnapper with a knife. He would not survive being thrown back into the system. Emma grabbed his hand. Don't let them take you. I don't know how to stop them. Daddy will think of something. He always does. But watching Iron being handcuffed, watching Hatchet and the others being loaded into police vans, Marcus wasn't sure. Maybe some monsters were too big to fight. Maybe the system always won. A female officer approached the clubhouse door. There's a child in here. We need to secure him. Rosa stepped in front of Marcus. Over my dead body. Ma'am, step aside. This boy was almost kidnapped. He's a witness. And you're trying to hand him over to the same people who protected his kidnapper. I don't know what you're talking about. Then check the evidence we uploaded. It's all there. Money transfers from the mayor's office to shell companies linked to Dale Whitmore's operation. Years of cover-ups. Years of children disappearing. The officer hesitated. Behind her, another voice. She's telling the truth. A man in a suit stepped forward, FBI badge visible on his belt. Agent David Chen. I've been investigating this ring for 18 months. Your mayor has been blocking my investigation at every turn. Reed's face went purple. This is outrageous. Agent Chen has no jurisdiction here. Actually, I do. Child trafficking is a federal crime, and based on the evidence uploaded tonight, I'm taking over this scene. You can't. Mayor Reed, I'd advise you to stop talking, because in about 30 seconds, I'm going to have some very uncomfortable questions about your financial records. The scene froze. Officers looked at each other uncertain. Agent Chen stepped toward the handcuffed bikers. Release them. Sir. I said release them. These men just captured one of the most wanted traffickers in the Southwest. They're witnesses, not criminals. Slowly the cuffs came off. Iron rubbed his wrists, staring at Agent Chen. Who are you? Someone who's been waiting a long time for evidence good enough to bring this whole thing down. He glanced at Marcus. And I hear I have an 8-year-old to thank for that. Marcus didn't know what to say. Agent Chen crouched down to his level. You're Marcus Cole. Yes, sir. You gave them the warehouse layout. Yes, sir. And you faced down Dale Whitmore alone to buy time for the sniper shot. Marcus's cheeks burned. I guess. Agent Chen smiled. Son, I've been doing this job for 20 years. I've never seen anything like what you did today. I just wanted to help. You did more than help. You broke open a case that's been dead in the water for 2 years. Because of you, we have evidence that will put Whitmore away for life. And that's just the beginning. He stood and turned to Mayor Reed. Charles Reed, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit human trafficking, obstruction of justice, and corruption of public office. Reed's face went from purple to white. You can't prove any of that. We have bank records. We have emails. We have testimony from Dale Whitmore himself, who's already talking in exchange for avoiding the death penalty. He's lying. Maybe. But juries love corroborating evidence, and we have a lot of it. Officers moved toward Reed. He tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. As they put him in handcuffs, he locked eyes with Marcus. This isn't over, boy. You have no idea what you've started. Marcus held his gaze. Maybe not, but I know what I stopped. They took the mayor away. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Emma burst out of the clubhouse and ran to her father, throwing her arms around his waist. Daddy! Iron lifted her up, holding her tight. It's okay, little bird. It's all okay. I was so scared. Me too, baby. Me too. He looked over her head at Marcus. No words passed between them. None were needed. Rosa pulled Marcus into a hug, and this time he didn't stiffen. He hugged her back. You did it, she whispered. You beautiful, brave boy. We all did it. No. She pulled back and looked into his eyes. This started with you. When you threw that rock. When you stood between Emma and a monster. Everything that happened, after everything that's going to happen, it all started because an 8-year-old boy decided that someone else's life mattered more than his own safety. Marcus felt tears threatening. He blinked them back. I just did what anyone would do. Rosa shook her head. No, honey. You did what most people only wish they could do. The sun was setting. It had been the longest day of Marcus's life. But standing there, surrounded by people who had fought for him, who had risked everything to protect him, he felt something he hadn't felt in 2 years. He felt like he belonged. Agent Chen approached Iron. We're going to need statements from everyone, including the boy. Tomorrow. He's been through enough today. Agreed. But I'll need access to all your evidence, everything you have. You'll get it. Chen handed Iron a card. My direct line. Anything you need anytime. You and your club did more for this investigation in 1 day than every agency combined did in 2 years. Iron pocketed the card. We protect our own. So I've noticed. Chen looked at Marcus one more time. Get some rest, son. The hard part's over. But as the agent walked away, Marcus knew that wasn't true. The hard part wasn't over. It was just beginning. Because tomorrow, he would have to testify. Face Whitmore in a courtroom. Relive everything that had happened. And somewhere out there, the rest of Whitmore's organization was still operating. Still hunting. Still hurting children. This fight wasn't finished. But for tonight, Marcus let himself breathe. Emma appeared beside him, Mr. Whiskers in her arms. You're staying, right? You're not leaving. I'm not leaving. Promise. He looked at her. At this 6-year-old girl who had become his first real friend in 2 years. I promise. She smiled and took his hand. Together they walked back into the clubhouse. Behind them, the wolves gathered to lick their wounds and plan their next move. The night was far from over, but for the first time, Marcus wasn't facing it alone. 3 days passed before Marcus stepped inside a courtroom. 3 days of interview statements and questions that made his head spin. 3 days of Agent Chen and his team digging through evidence, connecting dots, building a case that grew bigger with every passing hour. And 3 days of Emma refusing to let him out of her sight. She slept in his room every night, Mr. Whiskers wedged between them like a furry barrier against nightmares. She held his hand during meals, during walks, during the quiet moments when the weight of everything threatened to crush him. Iron watched them with something Marcus couldn't quite read. Pride, maybe. Or fear. Or both. On the morning of this 4th day, Agent Chen arrived at the clubhouse with news. Whitmore's talking. Iron set down his coffee. Saying what? Everything. Names, dates, locations. He's trying to cut a deal, avoid the death penalty. And he's pointing fingers at everyone he ever worked with. Including the mayor. Especially the mayor. Reed's been transferred to federal custody. His lawyers are already scrambling. Marcus sat at the kitchen table, pushing eggs around his plate. What about the other kids? The ones in the files. Chen turned to him. We've identified 18 children who were targeted, but never taken. They're safe now. Their families have been notified. And the ones who were taken... Chen's expression flickered. We're still working on that. How many, Marcus? How many? Chen exhaled slowly. 12 confirmed cases over the past 3 years. We've recovered 4 alive. The others... He didn't finish. Marcus felt his stomach turn to stone. 8 children. Gone forever. Because the system that was supposed to protect them had been bought and paid for. We're going to get justice for them, Chen said. All of them. But I need your help. My help. You're our star witness. The only person who can put Whitmore at the scene of Emma's attempted kidnapping. Without your testimony, his lawyers could argue the whole thing was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Iron's voice was sharp. He grabbed my daughter and tried to throw her in a van. I know. But courts need evidence, testimony, a face that juries can believe. Chen looked at Marcus. You're that face. Emma squeezed Marcus's hand under the table. You don't have to do it if you're scared. I'm not scared. That was a lie. He was terrified. But 8 children were dead. 12 families were destroyed. And the man responsible was trying to wriggle out of punishment by pointing fingers at everyone else. When? Marcus asked. Tomorrow. Preliminary hearing. Whitmore's lawyers are pushing for bail. We need to make sure that doesn't happen. He could get bail after everything. Money buys good lawyers. Good lawyers find loopholes. Chen leaned forward. But a kid who looked a kidnapper in the eye and didn't blink, that's hard to argue against. Iron stood. He'll need preparation, someone to walk him through what to expect. I can have a prosecutor here this afternoon. Fine. But I want to be in that courtroom tomorrow. Chen nodded. I'll make sure you have a seat. The prosecutor's name was Sarah Webb. She was sharp-focused and looked at Marcus like he was the most important person she'd ever met. I'm not going to lie to you, she said, sitting across from him at the clubhouse table. This is going to be hard. Whitmore's defense attorney is going to try to confuse you, make you doubt what you saw, make you look unreliable. How? They'll ask the same question different ways. Try to catch you in contradictions. They might bring up your living situation, try to paint you as a troubled kid who makes things up. Marcus felt heat rise in his chest. I don't make things up. I know, and we're going to prove that. But I need you to stay calm no matter what they throw at you. Can you do that? Yes. Even if they mention your parents. The fire. Marcus's hands clenched under the table. What does that have to do with anything? Nothing. But defense attorneys don't care about relevance. They care about rattling witnesses. If they can make you emotional, make you stumble, they'll use it. Emma, who had been listening from the doorway, marched into the room. That's not fair, Sarah smiled at her. No, it's not. But the law isn't always about fairness. It's about strategy. And our strategy is to let Marcus tell the truth clearly and simply, without letting the other side get under his skin. I can do that, Marcus said. I believe you. Sarah pulled out a folder. Let's practice. For the next 4 hours, she threw every question at him she could think of. The hostile ones. The confusing ones, the ones designed to make him angry or sad or uncertain. Marcus stumbled a few times, got frustrated more than once. But by the end, he could answer without flinching. You're ready, Sarah said finally. Are you sure? I've prepped witnesses twice your age who weren't half as composed. You're going to be fine. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through tomorrow's testimony in his head. The questions, the answers. The man with the snake tattoo who would be sitting across the room watching him. A soft knock at his door. Come in. Iron stepped inside. He looked tired, older somehow than he had a week ago. Thought you might be awake. Can't stop thinking about tomorrow. Iron sat on the edge of the bed. Want to talk about it? I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything. Just listen. Iron folded his hands. When I was in Afghanistan, there was this kid, maybe 10 years old. Lived in a village we were supposed to secure. His whole family had been killed by the Taliban. He was alone, scared, didn't trust anyone. What happened to him? One day, enemy fighters took over his village, used civilians as shields. We couldn't get close without risking innocent lives. Iron paused. That kid walked out of the village and told us exactly where the fighters were hiding. Every position, every weapon cache. He guided us through back alleys and hidden paths until we could take them out without hurting anyone else. He was brave. He was terrified. Shaking so hard he could barely talk. But he did it anyway, because he knew that if he didn't, more people would die. Iron looked at Marcus. Sound familiar? Marcus swallowed. I'm not that brave. You charged a man with a knife to save a girl you'd never met. That was stupid. Maybe. But it was also the bravest thing I've ever seen. And tomorrow you're going to walk into that courtroom and do something even harder. You're going to tell the truth when people want you to stay silent. What if I mess up? What if they don't believe me? Iron put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. Then we fight another way. But I don't think you're going to mess up. I've seen you face down monsters, kid. A bunch of lawyers in suits don't stand a chance. Marcus almost smiled. Thanks. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. He stood to leave. Iron? Yeah. What happened to that kid? The one in Afghanistan? Iron paused at the door. We got him out, brought him to a refugee camp. Last I heard, he was in Germany somewhere, going to school, living a normal life. Because he was brave. Because someone gave him a chance. Iron's eyes met his. That's all any of us need, Marcus. A chance. He left. Marcus closed his eyes and somehow finally slept. The courthouse was chaos. Reporters crowded the steps shouting questions at anyone who looked important. Camera flashes went off like lightning. News vans lined the street with satellites pointed at the sky. Agent Chen's SUV pulled up to a side entrance. Stay close to me. Don't talk to anyone. Just walk. Marcus nodded. They entered through a back door and moved quickly down a hallway. Footsteps echoed. Voices murmured from behind closed doors. Sarah Webb met them outside the courtroom. You ready? Yes. Good. You'll be called in about 20 minutes. Until then, you wait here with me. Iron appeared behind them with Hatchet at his side. The court security gave them hard looks but didn't stop them. Thought I told you to wait in the gallery, Chen said. Changed my mind. Iron looked at Marcus. You okay? I'm okay. We'll be right behind you. The whole club. Every man who could make it. Marcus turned. Through the glass doors leading to the gallery, he could see them. Dozens of leather vests, weathered faces. Men who had fought for him, bled for him, treated him like family. His throat tightened. All rise. The bailiff's voice cut through the murmurs. Everyone stood as the judge entered. Marcus was led to a seat at the front of the courtroom. Sarah Webb sat beside him. Across the aisle, Whitmore's defense team shuffled papers and whispered among themselves. And there, at the defendant's table, sat Dale Whitmore. He looked different in a suit, smaller somehow. The snake tattoo was hidden beneath a starched collar. His wounds from the shooting had been treated, leaving only visible bandages on his hand and shoulder. But his eyes were the same. Cold, empty, predatory. They found Marcus immediately. Whitmore smiled. Marcus didn't look away. The hearing began with procedural matters. Lawyers argued about evidence admissibility. The judge made rulings that Marcus didn't understand. Words flew back and forth, legal jargon that blurred together. Then Sarah stood. The prosecution calls Marcus Cole to the stand. Marcus's legs felt like rubber as he walked to the witness box. The bailiff swore him in. He sat. Every eye in the room focused on him. Sarah approached with a gentle smile. Marcus, can you tell the court how old you are? 8. And can you tell us where you were living before the events of last week? I didn't have a home. I slept in an abandoned car behind the railroad tracks. Murmurs rippled through the gallery. How long had you been living that way? About 2 years, since my parents died. I'm sorry for your loss. Sarah's voice was soft but clear. Can you tell us what happened on the afternoon of October 15th? Marcus took a breath. I was looking for food behind the gas station. I heard a little girl screaming. I ran toward the sound. What did you see? A man was grabbing her, trying to force her into a white van. She was crying and fighting, but he was too strong. What did you do? I picked up a rock and threw it at him. Why? Marcus paused. The question seemed so simple, but the answer was everything. Because no one should hurt kids, and no one was coming to help her. So I did. Sarah nodded. Can you identify the man you saw that day? Is he in this courtroom? Marcus looked directly at Whitmore. Yes, he's sitting right there. Whitmore's smile vanished. Let the record show that the witness has identified the defendant. Sarah stepped back. No further questions. The defense attorney rose. He was tall, silver-haired, with the confident stride of someone who'd won 1,000 cases. Marcus, is it? Yes, sir. You said you'd been homeless for 2 years, living on the streets, eating out of garbage cans. Yes. That must have been very difficult. It was. A child alone without supervision, without stability. I imagine you saw a lot of frightening things. I survived. But the stress of that survival, it can affect a person's perception, can't it? Make them see things that aren't there. Sarah stood. Objection. The witness is not a psychology expert. Sustained. The defense attorney smiled and changed tactics. Marcus, how far away were you when you first saw the alleged incident? Maybe 30 feet. And you'd just woken up, correct, after sleeping in an abandoned vehicle? No, I'd been awake for hours, looking for food. So you were hungry, tired, possibly dehydrated. In that state, isn't it possible you misinterpreted what you saw? Marcus kept his voice steady. I saw a man grab a little girl and try to put her in a van. There's nothing to misinterpret. But how can you be certain it was my client? Because when I threw the rock, he turned and looked right at me. I saw his face, his tattoo. I heard his voice when he told me to get lost. And you remember all of this clearly despite the traumatic circumstances. I remember everything about the worst moments of my life. That's how trauma works. The attorney's smile flickered. How would you know how trauma works? Because I watched my house burn down with my parents inside, and I remember every second of it. Silence fell over the courtroom. The attorney recovered, but his confidence had cracked. No further questions. Marcus was excused. He walked back to his seat on legs that trembled only slightly. Sarah squeezed his hand. You did great. The hearing continued for another hour. More witnesses. More evidence. The photographs from the warehouse. The financial records linking Whitmore to Mayor Reed. Testimony from the rescued children's families. When it was over, the judge called for a recess to consider the bail motion. Marcus waited in a small room with Sarah and Agent Chen. Iron stood guard outside the door. What happens now? Marcus asked. The judge decides whether Whitmore stays in custody or goes free until trial. He could actually go free. Not likely. Not after today. Chen checked his phone. You rattled his defense team, Marcus. That attorney has never been shut down by a witness before, let alone an 8-year-old. 20 minutes later, they were called back. The judge took his seat. The courtroom fell silent. After reviewing the evidence and testimony presented today, I find that the defendant poses a significant flight risk and danger to the community. Bail is denied. The defendant will remain in federal custody until trial. Marcus felt the breath leave his body. Denied. Whitmore wasn't going anywhere. The gallery erupted. Reporters rushed for the doors. Whitmore's attorneys argued with the judge while marshals moved to escort their client away. As they led him past the prosecution table, Whitmore stopped. He looked directly at Marcus. This isn't over, kid. You have no idea what you've done. Marcus met his gaze. Yeah, I do. I stopped you. Whitmore's face contorted with rage. Marshals yanked him forward, dragging him out of the courtroom. And just like that, he was gone. Iron was waiting outside. He pulled Marcus into a hug so tight it almost hurt. I'm proud of you. Marcus couldn't remember the last time anyone had said those words to him. Thanks. Let's go home. Home. The word felt strange, but somehow it also felt right. 2 weeks later, the trial began. Marcus testified again, this time in front of a full jury. He told his story, answered questions, faced down Whitmore's attorneys without flinching. Other witnesses followed. Agent Chen presented the evidence. Financial experts explained the money trail. Rescued children described their ordeals in quiet, halting voices that broke the hearts of everyone in the room. Whitmore's defense tried everything. Character witnesses, alternative theories, accusations of entrapment. None of it worked. On the third day of deliberations, the jury returned a verdict. Guilty. On all counts. Whitmore was sentenced to life without parole. His network was dismantled. 14 arrests across 3 states. A corrupt mayor facing his own trial. An FBI investigation that would take years to fully resolve. And Marcus Cole, the homeless boy who had thrown a rock at a monster, was suddenly everywhere. Newspapers ran his picture. News channels requested interviews. The story spread across the country, the 8-year-old who had saved a biker's daughter and brought down a trafficking ring. Marcus hated the attention. He just wanted things to be normal, whatever normal meant anymore. A month after the verdict, a woman from Child Protective Services arrived at the clubhouse. Her name was Patricia Wells. She had kind eyes and a folder full of paperwork. "I'm here to discuss Marcus's placement," she said, sitting across from Iron at the kitchen table. Marcus listened from the hallway. Emma pressed close beside him, straining to hear. "He's been staying here," Iron said carefully, "with us. I'm aware, but this isn't an official foster arrangement. Marcus needs a legal guardian, someone who can provide stable housing, education, proper care." "I can provide all of that. Mr. Stone, I understand your attachment to the boy. What he did for your daughter was remarkable, but your lifestyle complicates things." "My lifestyle?" "You're the president of a motorcycle club with a complicated legal history. Some judges would have concerns." Iron's voice went cold. "My record has been clean for 8 years. I served my country. I run a legitimate business, and I have never ever done anything to put a child at risk. I'm not questioning your character personally, but the system has protocols. The system failed Marcus for 2 years. He was sleeping in cars and eating garbage while your protocols looked the other way. Now you want to take him from the only people who actually gave a damn. Mr. Stone, Daddy." Emma's voice cut through the tension. She stepped out of the hallway, pulling Marcus with her. Patricia looked at them with surprise. "Emma, sweetie, the adults are talking. Marcus is my best friend. He saved my life. You can't take him away. No one is taking anyone away. We just need to find what's best for Marcus. This is best for Marcus." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "He's happy here. He's safe. He belongs with us." Patricia turned to Marcus. "What do you want, Marcus? You can tell me honestly." Marcus looked at her, at the folder full of paperwork that would determine his future, at the woman who represented the same system that had forgotten him for 2 years. "I want to stay here." "Why?" "Because these people saved me, not just from Whitmore, from everything. They gave me food when I was hungry, a bed when I was tired, a family when I had no one." His voice cracked. "For 2 years I was invisible. Nobody saw me. Nobody cared. But they cared. They fought for me. And I don't want to leave them." Patricia was quiet for a long moment. Then she closed her folder. "I'm going to recommend that Victor Stone be granted emergency foster custody with the intention of pursuing permanent guardianship." Iron's head snapped up. "What?" "Mr. Stone, whatever my concerns about protocols, I've been doing this job for 20 years, and I've never seen a child defend a placement the way Marcus just did." She stood. "There will be home inspections, background checks, court dates. It's not going to be quick or easy, but if you're committed to this, I am." Patricia nodded. "Then I'll do everything I can to help." She left. For a moment, no one moved. Then Emma screamed with joy and threw herself at Marcus, nearly knocking him over. "You're staying! You're really staying!" Marcus couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what had just happened. Iron walked over and knelt in front of him. His eyes were wet, something Marcus had never seen before. "I know I'm not your father. I'll never try to replace him. But if you'll let me, I'd like to be your family." Marcus felt the walls inside him finally crumble. The walls he'd built after the fire, after the foster homes, after 2 years of teaching himself not to need anyone. They fell. All of them. And for the first time since he was 6 years old, Marcus Cole cried. Not tears of sadness, not tears of fear, tears of something he'd forgotten could exist. Hope. Iron pulled him into a hug. Emma wrapped her arms around both of them. Rosa appeared and joined the pile, then Hatchet, then half a dozen bikers who had gathered in the doorway. A family of misfits, outlaws, broken people who had found each other, and now one small boy who finally had somewhere to belong. That night, Iron took Marcus outside to the porch. The stars were bright. Motorcycles gleamed in the moonlight. "I want to give you something." Iron pulled a small object from his pocket. A brass pin engraved with the Iron Wolves emblem. "This doesn't make you a member. You're way too young for that, but it means you're one of us. Family, protected, for life." Marcus took the pin. It was warm from Iron's pocket, heavy with meaning. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just know that as long as you have that pin, you'll never be alone again. Not ever. Marcus looked up at the man who had become his father, at the stars his mother might be watching from. Thank you for everything. Iron put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. Thank you for saving my daughter, for being brave enough to stand up when the world wanted you to stay down. They stood in silence, watching the night. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more court dates, more adjustments to this strange new life. But tonight, Marcus Cole had something he'd thought was lost forever. A home, a family, a future, and somewhere deep in his chest, a warmth that felt like hope. Emma appeared in the doorway, clutching Mr. Whiskers. Are you guys done being serious because I made hot chocolate and it's getting cold? Iron laughed. We're done. Emma grabbed Marcus's hand. Good. Because I have to tell you about my plan for your room. We're going to paint it blue and put up posters. And she dragged him inside, already listing 100 ideas. Iron watched them go. Then he looked up at the stars. I'll take care of him, Maria, he whispered. I promise. The wind stirred, and somewhere, somehow, it felt like an answer. 6 months changed everything. Marcus woke each morning in a bed with clean sheets. He ate breakfast at a table surrounded by people who knew his name. He went to school, did homework, played with Emma in the afternoons. Normal things. Things he'd forgotten existed. But some mornings, he still woke up gasping, reaching for walls that weren't there, expecting to feel the cold metal of an abandoned car. Some nights, he still dreamed of smoke and fire and screams that never stopped. Healing wasn't a straight line. Rosa had told him that. It came in waves, she said. Good days and bad days. Progress and setbacks. Today was a good day. Marcus sat at the kitchen table, struggling with long division, while Emma colored beside him. She'd appointed herself his official homework helper, which mostly meant she drew pictures on his scratch paper and asked questions about everything. Why do you have to divide numbers anyway? So I can figure out how to split things evenly. Like what? Like, Marcus thought, like if you had 12 cookies and wanted to share them with 3 friends. Emma's eyes lit up. Can we make cookies and then divide them? Maybe after I finish this. You're taking forever. Math is hard. Not for me. I can count to 100. That's not the same as division. It's still math. Iron appeared in the doorway, wiping his hands on a rag. He'd been working on a bike all morning. The smell of engine oil followed him everywhere. How's the homework coming? Slow, Marcus admitted. Need help. You know, long division. Iron sat down and looked at the paper. Let me see. Okay, so what you do is... For the next 20 minutes, Iron walked Marcus through each problem. He wasn't the most patient teacher, and his explanations sometimes made things more confusing, but he tried. That was the thing about Iron. He always tried. There. See. Not so hard. Marcus looked at his completed worksheet. Thanks. Anytime. Iron ruffled his hair. Now who wants cookies? Emma shrieked with excitement. An hour later, the kitchen was covered in flour. The smoke alarm had gone off twice, and they had 3 dozen lopsided chocolate chip cookies cooling on the counter. These look terrible, Hatchet said, walking in and grabbing one. They taste good, though, Emma protested. He bit into it and paused. Actually, yeah, not bad. Marcus felt something warm spread through his chest. This was his life now. Flour fights and burnt cookies and people who stuck around even when things got messy. He still couldn't quite believe it. The guardianship hearing was scheduled for Friday. Patricia Wells had warned them it might not be easy. Iron's past would be examined. The club's history would be questioned. Some judges, she said, had strong opinions about motorcycle clubs. Just be yourself, she told Iron. Be the father you've already become. Iron hadn't slept well all week. Marcus could tell. The dark circles under his eyes grew deeper each day. He was scared, Marcus realized. Terrified that the system would take Marcus away despite everything. It was strange seeing someone that powerful afraid of losing something. afraid of losing him. Thursday night, Marcus found Iron on the porch, staring at the stars. Can't sleep either. Iron glanced over. No, you. Too nervous. Marcus sat beside him. For a while, neither spoke. What happens if they say no? Iron's jaw tightened. They won't. But what if they do? Then we appeal. We fight. We do whatever it takes. He turned to face Marcus. Listen to me. I don't care what any judge says. You're family. You've been family since the day you threw that rock. No piece of paper changes that. But without the paper, they can take me away. They can try. Iron's voice was hard. But I made a promise to protect you. And I don't break promises. Marcus wanted to believe him. Wanted to trust that this wasn't all going to disappear. I'm scared, he whispered. Me too. Really? Really? Iron put his arm around Marcus's shoulders. But here's what I've learned about fear. It doesn't go away. You just learn to move forward anyway. You learn that some things are worth being scared for. Like what? Like family, like love, like the people who make your life mean something. Marcus leaned against him. Emma says her mom watches from the stars. Yeah, she does. Do you think my parents are up there too? Iron looked at the sky. I think they're proud of you, wherever they are. I think they're watching, and they're proud of the person you've become. Marcus felt tears sting his eyes. I wish they could see this. See that I'm okay. They see it. Iron's voice was rough. Trust me, they see it. They sat together until the cold drove them inside. Neither mentioned the tears on their cheeks. Some things didn't need words. Friday morning arrived with gray skies and a nervous energy that filled the clubhouse. Everyone was there. Rosa Hatchett, Doc Bruno, a dozen other club members who had become Marcus's extended family. They wore their best clothes, leather vests replaced with button-down shirts, tattoos hidden under long sleeves. You clean up nice, Marcus told Hatchett. Shut up, this collar is choking me. Emma came running down the hall in her best dress, the purple one with white flowers. She'd insisted on wearing it for luck. Are we ready? Can we go now? Soon, little bird. Iron adjusted his tie in the mirror. He looked uncomfortable, constrained, like a wolf forced into a costume. You look weird, Daddy. Thanks. I mean like good weird. Fancy weird. Rosa stepped forward and straightened his collar. You look fine. Just breathe. I'm breathing. You're turning blue. Breathe slower. The drive to the courthouse felt endless. Marcus sat between Emma and Rosa in the back seat watching the town pass by through the window. 6 months ago, he'd walked these streets invisible, a ghost that no one wanted to see. Now the whole community knew his name. It was still strange. Probably always would be. The courtroom was smaller than the one where Whitmore had been tried. More intimate. A family court, Patricia had explained. Different rules, different atmosphere. The judge was a woman in her 50s with silver hair and sharp eyes. Judge Catherine Morrison. Patricia had said she was fair, but thorough. She didn't let anything slide. Marcus took his seat at the front of the room. Iron sat beside him. Emma and Rosa and the others filled the gallery behind them. Patricia approached the bench. Your Honor, we're here today regarding the permanent guardianship petition filed by Victor Stone for the minor child Marcus Cole. I've reviewed the file. Judge Morrison's voice was measured. This is an unusual case. Mr. Stone, you're the president of a motorcycle club with a complicated history. Some might question whether that environment is appropriate for a child. Iron stood. Your Honor, I understand your concerns, but I'd like the opportunity to address them. Go ahead. 6 months ago, a little boy I'd never met saved my daughter's life. He was 8 years old, homeless, starving, and forgotten by every system that should have protected him. And when he saw a child in danger, he didn't think about his own safety. He ran toward the threat. Iron's voice steadied as he continued. That's the kind of person Marcus Cole is. Brave, selfless, good in a way most people never managed to be. He deserved better than what life gave him. And for the past 6 months, I've done everything in my power to give him that better. Mr. Stone, your record shows several arrests in your 20s. Yes, ma'am. I was young and stupid and angry at the world. But I served my country, got my life together, and haven't had so much as a parking ticket in 8 years. And the motorcycle club is my family. We're not criminals. Your Honor, we're veterans, mechanics, fathers, brothers. We look out for each other, and we look out for the people who need protecting. He paused. That's what we did for Marcus. That's what we'll keep doing with or without a piece of paper. Judge Morrison studied him for a long moment. I'd like to hear from Marcus. Marcus stood, his legs shaking slightly. Come forward, please. He walked to the witness stand. The bailiff swore him in. Marcus, do you understand what we're deciding today? Yes, ma'am. Whether Mr. Stone can be my legal guardian. And how do you feel about that? Marcus looked at Iron, at Emma, who was practically bouncing in her seat, at the rows of bikers who had shown up in their best clothes to support him. Before I met these people, I didn't think I mattered to anyone. I was just a kid living in abandoned cars trying not to die. No one saw me. No one cared. His voice grew stronger. But they cared. When I had nothing, they gave me everything. A home, a family, a reason to believe that maybe the world isn't as cruel as I thought. Some might say a motorcycle club isn't an ideal environment for a child. Some might say that. But those people haven't seen Iron teach me long division at the kitchen table. They haven't seen Hatchet carry me to bed when I fall asleep on the couch. They haven't seen Rosa bandage my knee when I fall off my bike, or Doc check my temperature when I'm sick, or Emma hold my hand every single time I get scared. Marcus felt tears threatening, but pushed through. This isn't just a motorcycle club. This is a family, a real family. And I've never had that before, not since my parents died. What about your parents? Do you think they would approve of this arrangement? Marcus was quiet for a moment. My dad was a firefighter. He ran into burning buildings to save people he'd never met. My mom volunteered at homeless shelters every Christmas. They taught me that family isn't about blood or rules or what looks good on paper. It's about showing up. Every day. Even when it's hard. He looked at Iron. Mr. Stone shows up. Every single day. For me, for Emma, for everyone who needs him. My parents would have loved him. Judge Morrison removed her glasses and cleaned them slowly. The courtroom was silent. I've presided over hundreds of guardianship hearings. I've seen families of every kind. And I've learned that the best predictor of a child's well-being isn't income or social status or the type of home they live in. It's whether they have people who love them unconditionally. She put her glasses back on. Marcus Cole, you are clearly loved. Fiercely, unconditionally, and without reservation. She turned to Iron. Mr. Stone, I'm granting your petition for permanent guardianship. Marcus Cole is now legally your son. The courtroom erupted. Emma screamed and ran to the front, throwing herself at Marcus. Rosa was crying. Hatchet was definitely not crying, but his eyes were suspiciously wet. The bikers in the gallery cheered like they'd just won a war. Iron crossed the room in 3 steps and pulled Marcus into his arms. We did it, Marcus whispered. No. Iron's voice cracked. You did it. You survived. You fought. You never gave up. I just got lucky enough to be there when you were ready to be found. Judge Morrison banged her gavel, but she was smiling. Order! Order in the court! No one listened. For once, the rules didn't matter. Family did. A month after the guardianship was finalized, the town held a ceremony. Not for Marcus, not officially, but somehow it had become about him anyway. The new community center was finished, built with funds raised after the trafficking ring was exposed, a place for kids who had nowhere else to go, a shelter for families in crisis, a symbol of what the town could be when it chose to see the people it had been ignoring. They called it the Cole Center. Marcus had tried to talk them out of it. I didn't do anything special, he'd argued. I just threw a rock. Sometimes throwing a rock is exactly what's needed, the mayor had replied. The new mayor, that is. Charles Reed was still awaiting trial. His replacement was a woman named Sarah Blackwood, who had campaigned on child protection and government transparency. The ceremony was held on a Saturday afternoon. Half the town showed up. News cameras captured everything. Marcus stood on the small stage wearing clothes Iron had bought him and feeling completely out of place. Emma sat in the front row waving every time he looked at her. "I'm supposed to give a speech," Marcus said into the microphone, "but I'm not very good at speeches. So I'll just say this." He took a breath. 2 years ago, I was invisible. I walked these streets and no one saw me. I slept behind buildings and ate out of garbage cans and thought that was just how my life was going to be. I thought I didn't matter. The crowd was silent. Then I met a little girl who needed help, and I learned something important. We all matter. Every single one of us. Even the ones who've been forgotten. Even the ones who've given up on themselves. He looked at Iron, standing at the edge of the stage. I got lucky. I found people who reminded me that I was worth saving. But there are kids out there right now who haven't been that lucky. Kids sleeping in cars like I did. Kids who think no one cares. He pointed at the building behind him. This place is for them. So they know someone sees them. Someone cares. Someone's ready to help when they're ready to be found. He stepped back from the microphone. The applause was deafening. Emma rushed the stage and grabbed his hand. "That was amazing. You're like a famous person now." "I'm not famous. You're on TV." He looked at the cameras, at the reporters scribbling in notebooks, at the crowd still clapping. "I just want to go home." Iron appeared beside him. "Then let's go home." They slipped away while the speeches continued. Nobody tried to stop them. By now, everyone knew that the Iron Wolves protected their own. That night, the clubhouse was quiet. Emma had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from the excitement. Rosa covered her with a blanket and dimmed the lights. Marcus sat on the porch looking at the stars. Iron joined him, 2 cups of hot chocolate in his hands. "Thought you might want this." "Thanks." They sat in comfortable silence. "You did good today," Iron finally said. "I felt stupid." "You felt brave. There's a difference." He sipped his cocoa. "You know, when Maria was dying, she made me promise 2 things. Take care of Emma, and don't let the darkness win." Marcus looked at him. For a long time, I wasn't sure I could keep that second promise. The anger was always there. The grief, the feeling that the world had taken everything good and left me with nothing but rage. "What changed?" Iron smiled. "You. Me. You showed me what courage actually looks like. Not the kind that comes from being big or strong or dangerous. The kind that comes from having nothing and still choosing to help someone else." He set down his mug. "You reminded me why I started this club in the first place. To protect people. To be a family for people who didn't have one. Somewhere along the way I forgot that. I got so focused on fighting enemies that I stopped seeing the people who needed saving. You saved me. We saved each other." Iron put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You made me a better man, Marcus. A better father. I hope I can do the same for you." Marcus felt the familiar tightness in his throat, the feeling he'd learned to associate with being loved. "You already have." They stayed on the porch until the stars began to fade. A year to the day after Marcus had thrown a rock at a monster, the Iron Wolves gathered for a ride. Not a hunt this time, not a war council, just a ride. 50 motorcycles lined up outside the clubhouse, chrome gleaming, engines rumbling, leather vests displaying the wolf emblem that had become Marcus's family crest. Iron handed Marcus a helmet, the same one he'd given him for his first ride, now decorated with small stickers Emma had added. "Ready?" Marcus strapped it on. "Ready." Emma climbed onto the back of Hatchet's bike, grinning like she'd won the lottery. She'd been begging to come along for weeks. "Hold on tight, little bird." "I know, Uncle Hatchet, I'm not a baby." Rosa watched from the porch, waving. Doc stood beside her, arm in a sling from a recent shop accident. The clubhouse was full of people who had become Marcus's world. Iron mounted his bike. Marcus climbed on behind him. "Where are we going? Does it matter?" Marcus thought about it. "No, I guess it doesn't." Iron grinned. "Then let's ride." The engines roared to life. One by one, the bikes pulled out, forming a thundering procession that rolled through town. People stopped to watch. They always did. But now they waved instead of looking away. Kids pointed and laughed. Parents smiled. The Iron Wolves weren't just the scary bikers anymore. They were the men who had saved children, protected their town, proven that family came in all forms. They rode for hours, through desert highways and mountain passes and small towns where nobody knew their story. Just 50 bikes in the open road and a freedom that Marcus had never imagined possible. As the sun began to set, they stopped at an overlook. The valley spread beneath them, painted in shades of orange and gold. Iron killed his engine. The others followed. For a moment, there was only silence. The wind, the cooling tick of engines, the sound of 50 people breathing in the beauty of the world. Marcus climbed off the bike and walked to the edge of the overlook. 1 year ago, he had been dying. Slowly, invisibly, one hungry night at a time. He had been a ghost haunting a world that didn't want him. Now he was alive. Really alive. With a father and a sister and a family that stretched across 50 motorcycles. Iron appeared beside him. "What are you thinking?" "About how different everything is. How I never imagined any of this was possible. And now," Marcus looked at the sunset, at the bikers gathering behind him, at Emma, who was already running toward him with something in her hand. "Now I know that anything is possible. If you're brave enough to reach for it." Emma skidded to a stop in front of him, breathless. She held up a small piece of paper. "I made this for you, for the anniversary." Marcus took it, a drawing of course, but this one was different. It showed 3 figures standing on a cliff looking at a sunset. A tall man with a beard, a small girl with yellow hair, and a boy in the middle holding both their hands. Underneath in Emma's careful handwriting, "My family forever." Marcus's vision blurred. "Do you like it?" He couldn't speak. He just pulled her into a hug. "I'll take that as a yes," she mumbled into his chest. Iron wrapped his arms around both of them. "My kids, both of you, my family." Hatchet appeared, pretending to be gruff. "Are we doing a group hug thing because I don't do group hugs?" "Then why are you walking over here?" Rosa asked, appearing behind him. "I'm not. I'm just standing." Aggressively. He joined the hug anyway. One by one, the others gathered. 50 bikers on a cliff watching the sunset wrapped around 2 children who had given them all something to believe in. Marcus closed his eyes. He thought of his parents, of the fire that had taken them, of the 2 years of darkness that had followed. He thought of Emma's scream on that street corner, of the rock in his hand, of the choice that had changed everything. He thought of Iron and Rosa and Hatchet and Doc and all the others who had opened their hearts to a kid who had nothing. And he thought of the future, the one he was finally allowed to imagine. School, birthdays, holidays, graduation someday. A life filled with the people who loved him. He wasn't invisible anymore. He wasn't forgotten. He was Marcus Cole, son of Victor Stone, brother to Emma, member of the Iron Wolves, and he was finally completely, absolutely home. The ride back to the clubhouse was slower, gentler, like nobody wanted the day to end. When they finally pulled in, the sunset had faded to purple dusk. Stars were beginning to appear. Marcus climbed off the bike and handed Iron his helmet. "Thanks for everything." "You don't have to thank me." "Yeah, I do. You could have ignored me that day. Could have taken Emma and left me bleeding on the pavement. Nobody would have blamed you. I would have blamed myself." Iron hung the helmet on his handlebar. "The moment Emma said you saved her, I knew. I knew you were supposed to be part of this family. Call it fate or luck or whatever you want. But some things are just meant to be." "Do you really believe that?" "I believe you made a choice when it would have been easier to run. I believe that choice changed everything. And I believe that's not luck or fate. That's character. That's who you are." Marcus looked at the clubhouse, at the lights glowing in the windows, at Emma already running inside to tell Rosa about the ride. "I want to be good," he said quietly. "Not just lucky. I want to actually deserve all this." Iron put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You already do." You just don't see it yet. But someday you will. Someday you'll look back at everything you've been through and realize that every moment of pain was preparing you for this. For a life worth living. For a family worth having. You really think so? I know so. Iron smiled. Now come inside. Rosa's making dinner and Emma will eat all the rolls if we don't hurry. They walked toward the clubhouse together. Father and son. A family built not by blood, but by choice. At the door, Marcus paused. Iron? Yeah. I love you. The words came out before he could stop them. Words he hadn't said to anyone since his parents died. Words he'd been afraid to feel, let alone speak. Iron's face changed. Something cracked open behind his eyes. Something vulnerable and fierce and deeply, desperately human. I love you too, son. He pulled Marcus into a hug, quick and hard and full of everything that words couldn't capture. Then they went inside. The clubhouse was warm and loud and full of life. Emma was already telling Rosa about the ride, gesturing wildly. Hatchet was stealing rolls from the basket. Doc was arguing with Bruno about something that had happened on the road. Normal chaos. Beautiful chaos. Home. Marcus took his seat at the table. Emma immediately scooted her chair closer. Tell me about the sunset again, the colors. I want to remember. You were there. I know, but I like hearing you describe it. So Marcus described it. The oranges and golds and purples. The way the light had painted the valley like something from a dream. The feeling of standing on that cliff with his family watching the world turn beautiful. Emma listened with wide eyes, soaking in every word. Iron watched them from across the table, a small smile on his face. Rosa brought out the food. Everyone reached for dishes, talking and laughing and arguing like families do. And Marcus, for the first time in as long as he could remember, didn't feel like a guest. He felt like he belonged. After dinner, Emma dragged him to her room to show him her latest drawings. Then they played video games in the common room until Hatchet beat them both and declared himself champion of the universe. By the time Marcus climbed into bed, he was exhausted. The good kind of exhausted. The kind that came from living instead of just surviving. Emma appeared in his doorway, Mr. Whiskers in her arms. Can I stay tonight? Just for a little while? Sure. She curled up at the foot of his bed like she had that first night. Only now it wasn't fear that brought her. It was comfort. Habit. The simple desire to be close to someone she loved. Marcus. Yeah. I'm glad you threw that rock. He smiled in the darkness. Me too. Do you think you would have done it if you knew everything that would happen after? Marcus thought about it. The trial, the media attention, the fear and the danger and the uncertainty, but also the love, the family, the home. Yeah, he said finally. I would have done it anyway. Because you were worth saving. Everyone is worth saving. Emma was quiet for a moment. That's why you're a hero, you know. Not because you fought the bad guy, but because you believed I was worth fighting for. You are. So are you, she yawned. Even when you forget it, I'll remind you. Within minutes, she was asleep. Marcus lay awake a little longer, listening to her breathing, thinking about the journey that had brought him here, from invisible to seen, from alone to surrounded, from forgotten to loved. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new problems to solve, new opportunities to grow. But tonight, he was safe. He was home. He was exactly where he was supposed to be. And that was enough. That was everything. Marcus Cole fell asleep with a smile on his face, surrounded by the family he'd found by accident and kept by choice. Outside, the stars burned bright over the Iron Wolves clubhouse. Motorcycles gleamed in the moonlight. Somewhere a wolf howled at the Nevada sky. And in a room that finally felt like his own, a boy who had once believed he was invisible dreamed of a future full of light. Because that's the thing about courage. It doesn't erase the darkness. It doesn't undo the pain. It simply proves that even in the worst moments, hope is possible. That even the smallest person can change the course of lives. That family isn't about blood or paperwork or where you started. It's about who stays, who fights, who loves you at your worst and believes in your best. Marcus Cole had been thrown away by the world, but he'd been caught by something stronger than circumstance. He'd been caught by love. And love, he finally understood, was the only thing that could never be taken away. Not by fire, not by fear, not by monsters or systems or the cruelty of chance. Love endured. Love remained. Love won. The boy who had thrown a rock to save a stranger had become a son, a brother, a symbol of everything a community could be when it chose compassion over indifference. And the motorcycle club that had terrified a town had become its greatest protectors, proving that heroes don't always wear capes or badges. Sometimes they wear leather vests and ride Harleys and love their children with a ferocity that changes the world. This is the story of Marcus Cole, a boy who survived, a family who found him, and a town that learned the most important lesson of all. You don't need power to matter. You just need the courage to care.